Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cheese Room for yet another Monday night show discussing all things Spurs. I don't know about you guys, but the weeks are flying by at the moment and helped with lots of positive news coming out of Tottenham. Here to discuss everything Tottenham tonight, from the Postecoglou press conference, solving the Kane conundrum, selling Sanchez for a snippet of 9 million and everything in between. I am joined by two regulars of the Cheese Room. Gibbo, my co-host, regular YouTube brother from another mother. How are you doing, Gibbo?
All right, mate. Thoroughly enjoyed Ange's press conference today. And yeah, mate, nice to have Franco here, and let's get into it, mate.
Well, we've got Cheese Room royalty yet again on the YouTube show. Franco, you will know, does a lot of the podcasts over on Spotify and every other platform they're available on. Great podcast. Franco, great to have you on the YouTube show again. How are you doing?
G'day, gents. I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty knackered for a Monday, to be honest. Today has been an absolute nightmare, but yeah, I'm quite looking forward to talking about some football.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. And I'll say welcome to everyone that's joined us already. Please do like and subscribe. Really important. The more likes we get, the more subscribers we get, the better the channel becomes. So please do like and subscribe. Just a bit of housekeeping. Kerry King on Twitter has been trying to get first dibs on marrying Ange Postecoglou. I had to remind Kerry that I was first in line. I am proper in love with the man from Australia, from the man down under. Press conference today, Franco. Initial reaction to the press conference?
Well, like I said, I had a busy day today, but I still managed to find myself 10 minutes to watch the sort of Sky snippet that was on YouTube. I don't think it was all of it, but look, it's just a breath of fresh air, isn't it? I think that must be the general feeling amongst football fans after just listening to Jose and Conte after him basically bring the club down in many of their post-match and pre-match interviews. It's just nice to have a bit of positivity in that. And I know it's very early days. Things could change very soon. But it's just the way he talks and the sort of the belief, which does seem to have been missing for the last couple of years.
Yeah, Gibbo. I mean, I don't know if you was like me. I was properly overexcited watching the press conference live today. What was your reaction to it?
Yeah, mate. Well, it's music to my ears. It's just like he's honest, then, isn't he? He's like Franco said. He seems enthusiastic. He wants to be here. He's saying all the right things. You know, I think I watched the full press conference earlier, half hour. He's talking well with the journalists and you just listen to him and the things he's saying are just, as a fan, what you want to hear. There's no nonsense or like playing games or talking in riddles, which we've been used to. Even the end of days, Poch, he used to talk in riddles, didn't he? Some of the stuff he used to say, you think, what are you talking about? So it was just great to hear, you know, and the way he talks, mate, he just carries himself really well. And I think it's it just makes you think. You just get, even though you don't know what's gonna happen, you're just excited to actually, because I haven't been excited to watch Spurs for a long time, and that's how I sort of feel at the minute. I can't wait to see, even if it starts slowly. I'm just looking forward to, you know, looking at it and thinking, is there what's he going to do? How's he going to change that? And the bit where he said, like, you know what, if it's not working, if people are against it and it's not working, I won't let it carry on. You know, I'll change it. It'll change pretty quick. And I'm like, that's the type of shit I want to hear. It's the type of shit I'm talking about, mate. Yeah, it's just like a breath of fresh air. Definitely, it's just really, really nice to hear.
But that's an interesting point, Gibbo, because whilst, you know, with Jose and with Conte, they were both managers that you knew wouldn't take any shit. They are in charge of that group of players. And with Ange, you kind of get this thing where he's a nicer guy. He's got a bit more of that sort of, you know, Poch, touchy-feely sort of camaraderie team that he's going to try and build. But you can also see that he's not going to take any shit. Like, he is the man in charge. And he's going to have a way of playing. And I really like that. The fact that he's come up and just said, look, we're going to play this way. And if anyone's, what did he say? So something like, if people aren't on board with it.
Not on the train.
Yeah. If they're not on board with it, then that's going to be a problem, but not for long, because I'll basically get them behind me. And that's perfect. But it's also just things like when they said to him, like, about what are your targets for the season? And now, whilst what he said was it was a deflection, essentially. He said, I don't set targets because I can find them limiting. Now, you can argue that's bit of nonsense maybe, but it's just a complete contrast to when you've got Jose and you've got Conte basically saying we can't aim high because it's going to be so difficult for us. Everything is going to be difficult. It's a challenge, blah, blah, blah. With him, he's just, it's different language, isn't it, that he's using?
Yeah.
I think, sorry, go on, Gibbo.
No, you carry on, mate. You were about to say something. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think you're right. He made the comment about how we're going to play, and he talked about the need for the people to buy into it in the club. I'll quote it here: the more people buy into that, the more we will get there quicker. Because when there is a resistance, it just slows down the whole process. But what I will make clear is that it won't change the process. It won't change me. It might just derail it for a little bit. It won't derail it for long because he won't allow it, was basically what he said. I love that because he's basically saying to the players, isn't it? Look, come on board. We are going to do things differently here. And I love what he said about, I'm going to do things different, not because it's better than what you've had previously in the club. It's because it's me and it's my way. And I just loved all of that. And I thought it was also really interesting, building on from that, he was asked about Ndombele and said about, what's he seeing from Ndombele? And he made the point about saying, he's working hard, and then he said, "But they all have to. They're all working hard because they have to."
Yeah,
and it's such a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can see that in the training videos from last week, just the early ones, like the little passing triangles and movement they're doing on the pitch and stuff. You can see the ideas he's trying to implement. And look, I think that's the thing we're all excited about. We're all excited to see some fast-paced football, end-to-end stuff from one end to the other and in the back of the net. And I mean, that the contrast between that and some of the football that we've seen over the last couple of years is going to be really refreshing. But also just him as a personality, like you say, it's just it does feel like he's trying to build a team. And under Jose and Conte, it just didn't really feel like it was either like, right, you either do what I say or I'm just going to blank you and you're just going to be shut out until you basically get on side of me. With him, he's kind of saying same thing, but like I said, it's the language you use, and I think he's going to be a real good motivator for this bunch of players. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, what did you make to the Gibbo, the specific references to Ndombele, and did you take it because he said something quite telling around Ndombele may not want to be a part of this, and what did you take from that? 'Cause it's not just about Ndombele, but I took that from any player. If any player says they don't want to be a part of this, he's going to say, "Well, see you later." You're not part of what we're going to do.
He obviously knows, doesn't he, like how Ndombele's career has gone at Spurs, but he's given him the opportunity, and he strikes me as the sort of player that he's the type of player I think that someone like Postecoglou would like. He wants to play forward, doesn't he? I know he doesn't really want to do the dirty work, but he's a forward-thinking footballer, and he's given him that chance. And if he shows in training like he has to all the other coaches we've had that he's not up for that challenge and he doesn't want to put in the hard yards, and that's probably what he means by he might not fancy being around, because obviously if he's going to stay, then he's going to have to do what he's asked to do and put the hard yards in. Which when he talks about training, Ange said, didn't he, that they've all trained really hard, and that's what I expect from them, as they should be. So
you have to, yeah.
So it's and as always, mate, I think it's on Ndombele. It's what he wants to do, how much he wants to give, because you're only going to get out of it what you put in, and that's always been down to him. But maybe don't get me wrong, mate, he's been a disaster for Spurs. But when you look at it, in a midfield three playing front foot football, he could be an asset in that squad. I'm not saying first, he's going to be the first name on the team sheet, but he can bring something to that squad if the coach can get something out of him. If we can get him to buy in, which is what it seems to all be about, is getting I think certain people will automatically buy in, but some people will take a bit of coaxing in. And if you can get him to buy in, he will be a good addition to that squad, because there are things that he can do, which we haven't got other players that can do those sorts of things. So good. If he can get him to buy in, great player for the squad for me. I don't know what you think, Franco, or do you think it's gone now? They need to move him on. We're just literally it's just a pipe dream that we might actually get something from him.
I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, if I'm honest. Only because I think he's burnt quite a few bridges with the fans as well, and it's quite difficult to come back once you've done that. You've got to work your arse off, and we've never really seen him do that under a Spurs shirt, have we? And I don't know how you're going to change the fact that in games, if he got kicked a few times, you could see he didn't want to be involved with it anymore. So it's like you're asking him to sort of want to be involved in this real fast-paced, dynamic team where the midfielders are going to be really important in it. And I'm not sure we've seen much from him that would show that he's capable and willing to do that. But look, he's got the rest of the summer to work with him. And, you know, we need players in there that have got those skills because, you know, Bentancur's not going to be back for a while. Bissouma to a certain degree can do it, and Skip and Højbjerg, I don't think we're too sure. Sarr still young, so to have like an option in there, somebody that's like decent on the ball and can pick a pass, but it's just he's got to work on so many other aspects of his game, I think, to be in that midfield spot.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he'll go on the tour?
Yeah, I think he will, because I mean, it doesn't. We've had virtually no rumours of people going out at the moment, and I know like that's another thing for Levy to get pelts about at the moment. But we've been saying it for a long time. Like getting those players out is really important, and there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of suitors for Ndombele. Like the wages are always going to be a big step to get past, aren't they? It's like it's a lot of money for basically a player that's nowhere near where he was when he signed for Spurs.
But that's kind of my point, that if there are no suitors for him, and you're going to struggle to get him out the door, then you've got to try and get him to buy in and try and get. We're not going to get what we believe we're going to get out of him, but I think he scored a few goals for us, so I think he can pick a pass.
Yeah,
he can. He has got a goal in him, and he and he can link the play quite well. So if we've got no suitors for him, we've paid a massive wedge for him. We may as well try and get as much as we can out of him, and if that's a place off the bench, to come on in certain games, then we'll just have to try and sort of get him to buy. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Trying to get him to buy in. But I don't think people. You definitely the money you're going to get from it for him. I think you'd struggle to probably get 15, 20 million, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, in some respects, like whilst he went to a decent team for his loan move, I did kind of think we missed maybe an opportunity to send him somewhere we would have played all season, because he didn't get that much game time, did he? He was in part of a successful team, and that's sometimes good, but he wasn't a big part of it. And I think we probably would have liked to have seen him get 30, 40 games under his belt in a season, and be an instrumental part of the team. So at least you could see that he could do it, because he was never that for us, was he? And I think it's that 90 minutes. You need commitment from a player like him for 90 minutes. Any manager would in the Premier League. So look, it's going to be a big summer for him. He needs to make a decision, doesn't he? Because this is career defining. Like, I know he can retire on what he's earned so far, but you've got to think there's got to be a bit of aspiration for him to want to succeed at a club like Spurs. I don't know.
Yeah. One of the things, he said a lot of things in his press conference, just to pick up on a couple of points. One of them was, and I may be reading too much into this, I'm interested to get your take, guys, but I don't want people to be uptight. I want them to be themselves so we can create the environment to do what we need to do. Do you think that's a bit of a reflection back to what life was perhaps like under Conte in that last season? And that's, sorry, Gibbo, I'll go to you first.
No, I don't think he's a sort to have a dig at. I genuinely think that's how he wants it to be round the training ground. I think he knows exactly what he wants from the group, as in attitude, commitment, and application. And I think that's just part of it, mate. I think he wants everybody in the club involved. He wants everybody to be part of it. So I just think I don't think it's having a dig. I mean, he said, didn't he? I'm not saying anything against Conte really or Jose. It's just, this is what I do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and I'm different to the coaches that have been here previously. So I think it's just a bit of that, mate.
Interesting. Franco, what did you make to the? Sorry, I've got a fog in my throat. To the comments around specifically what he was asked a question unfairly, I thought, about the Spurs reacting negatively to him being at Spurs manager. I can't remember the journalist, but he basically said, "What's your initial reaction? What did you make of some of the fans' reaction to appointment, with some of them taking to social media to say they weren't happy?" I mean, I thought it was a bit of an unfair question because I don't get the sense that there's any negativity towards his appointment, is there?
I think there was some initially, yeah, but I feel like most of that seems to have dissipated now. I mean, there's always going to be the same old negs who will basically say it's not ambitious enough, and we've gone from born winners who we didn't. The only reason they didn't win is because of the club, and now we've gone to sort of like the B League or whatever to get Ange. But I think anybody that takes an interest in football and sees what he's done and the sort of personality and man that he is can only really get excited about it. I mean, we all know he's not won loads of stuff. It's not like, but I'm never excited because we got Jose or Conte in and they'd won things. I wasn't excited because of that. I was excited maybe because it was just a different personality and something different to see at a football club. And for that reason, I'm excited about Ange. Like he does bring those Poch vibes, and we didn't get Poch. Forget where he's gone. Ignore it. But we've got Ange, and I think we should be on board with it. It's a big change. It's a completely different style of football, and I think that's the thing which he keeps reiterating is like the club wanted a change, and he's there to do it. And yeah, it is unfair because journalists are like pricks like that, aren't they? They'll ask stupid questions to unsettle him. Yeah. The same as with the Kane questions. They asked a question with Kane within a few, and he made a point about that, didn't he? He was like, "Oh, we had a sweepstake about how many questions in until you asked me about Kane." And so, yeah, for a first interview, it is a bit harsh to put on the back foot, but he's got to be able to take it because let's be honest, like if we don't start winning games, he's going to get much worse questions asked him on a regular basis. With as this window drags on, the longer Kane's still at the club, he's going to get more and more questions about that. So he's going to have to get used to the British press and how cynical they are. And fair play to him. I thought today he did well with the answers to most of his questions, and he kept pointing out that it's all about the philosophy and the way that we play and getting everybody on board with that. And I think that's the important part of it. He almost sort of made the point it's not about individuals quite a few times. He said he mentioned that.
It strikes me that he'll be able to do, as obviously it's only the first press conference, but lots of us have heard him talk in interviews and stuff before. Celtic, well, I suppose a lot of stuff went right from there, but I think he'll be quite good in handling the press. I think I don't think he's the sort that will give the old. You're never going to get the Conte sort of dropping the bomb away at Southampton, are you? Or it's the players, or if I speak, I'll get in trouble. All that nonsense. I think he'll be quite. I think he's quite well spoken, isn't he? And I think he'll handle them quite well. Because, like you said, they will just ask ridiculous questions. They'll just, especially on Sky Sports after games and that, won't they? If he struggles the first couple of games, they'll be like, oh, you've never managed at this level before and all that. They'll get on him, won't they? And as we're Spurs, it seems like the media like to get on our back straight away anyway, don't they? We're there to be shot at. So, but I've got a feeling that he'll handle it all a little bit better than say Jose and Conte did in their petulant manner, considering that they were born winners.
Yeah, it's definitely. He said, Franco, that it may take a little while before we have clarity on what the squad will look like. But within that, I can't wait for the moment to start working. We started working already. I thought that's quite interesting because I think there's been certainly a lot of drive. Well, I'm one of those that really want us to get our business done early. But I wondered whether that's probably a reflection of the fact he wants to go to Australia with the existing players and give that squad as much of an opportunity as possible to potentially buy in, get on the train, as he said.
Yeah, I think so, because he was also asked about sort of Lloris's future. I can't remember who else, but obviously there's Sanchez as well. It would have been because obviously they've been touted as wanting a move, and obviously we want to get rid of them. And he was asked about that, and he kind of just deflected it a bit, and made the point that wasn't his primary concern at the moment. He just wants to work with the players, start introducing himself to them and his ideas. The fact Kane hasn't been there, he was asked about Kane. It's just like, well, how are you going to ask me about Kane when I've not even had a proper conversation with him? And then he kind of, detailed he needed to speak to Kane and get him on board and see what he wants to do. But it was interesting that he said that he thought Kane wants the best for the club. Yeah. And he wanted to speak to Kane about his ideas about how he was going to bring success to the club, and he wanted to ask Kane about what his ideas were to see whether there was some sort of, that they married up or not. And I think that's the most you can ask for from it. Obviously, he wants Kane to stay, and it's a really difficult situation for him because, like I said, he's coming into a club where his best player might be leaving. He's got to deal with that in his first summer, It's not an easy one. So I think the most we can hope for now, my personal opinion, is that we just hold our ground, hold our nerve, and don't give in to Kane. If he goes next summer, then he goes next summer. But I think if the manager wants to keep him, then that should be what we do.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kane situation then. As you brought it up nicely, Franco. Clearly, the latest is Bayern Munich have tabled an improved bid of 18 million euros plus add-ons, which we understand the club have turned down. He's due to return to Tottenham this week, midweek, I think, to pre-season training. It's alleged that every single member of the Kane family have been to Bayern Munich and agreed personal terms for Harry, which is quite interesting. And it's alleged that Harry Kane has said that he is interested in leaving. Franco, you've obviously made clear that you hope that he stays in the club, hold their nerve. Is there a world in which that changes? If Kane comes back to Tottenham this week and says he's out, he wants to go, I'm not going to sign a new contract. Is it about getting as much money as we can for him, or is it a case of, no, you're staying, give us another year?
I think we just hold our nerve and don't give in. As Nick Nax just said, what level of bid be worth accepting for Kane? I don't think there is one. I mean, arguably, I think I made this point on Twitter today about, and we've talked about it before, is the prize money that you could potentially get for a Champions League. And in my mind, there's no way we're going to get Champions League football without Kane's goals this season. So we keep him, we keep ourselves in with a chance of getting European football next year. And then, if we do get that top four, that's worth instantly something like 35, 40 million just for the group stages. So, you sell him for 100 million. I just don't see in world football at the moment that we're going to find anybody that's going to replace those goals. I just don't see it. We'd have to be so lucky or do some really good scouting and have an idea in our mind. And I mean, can you name strikers that Spurs would be able to sign now that would be able to replace anywhere near those goals?
Well, what are we talking? 30 goals, 10 assists on average, would you say?
Yeah. And just the all-round play as well.
It's just, I mean, that's the second issue. Like, replacing the goals. Admittedly, we've getting some players in that might be able to add to those in the last week or so. Maddison's always contributing, and we need some more goals from midfield. It's always been an issue at Spurs, but you need Son to have a great season. If he plays like he did next year, we've got absolutely no hope without his goals. If Kane wasn't in the team as well, so. Yeah, look, we've always said he's basically an irreplaceable player, and it's very difficult to put a value on that. In the last year of his contract, you're not really going to get anybody pay the sort of money that Kane is worth to the team. And like I said, we've kind of sleptwalked into this situation. We are where we are. So for me, I really think on the balance of things, you keep him in the team, you give Ange a season to work with him, and then you spend this next year really trying to find his replacement and work on that. But yeah, I'm not sure whether Bayern would like to get him, but I don't think they'd like to spend loads of money on him. I do feel like there's an element of this is like them putting their interest and trying to get themselves at the front of the queue for the end of next season, because Bayern would love to get him on a free, wouldn't they? They would, because they're not made of money. They've got decent wedge, but they're not made of money. So I think they've, if they've been speaking to him and he's sort of showing an interest in that, then fine. But it's an odd move. I think last time I was on the show, I talked about this. It's not the most exciting league in the world. Nobody really cares if you win the Bundesliga. Nobody's going to be like, all right, we'll get off Kane's back now because he's won a Bundesliga or the Cup or something. So, it's an interesting move. But I do think he'll win stuff there, though. That's the thing. I think he's almost guaranteed to win the league.
It's easier than Celtic winning the league, isn't it? There. I mean, it just smacks of if he was to move there. He's desperate for that.
It's a 2-horse race, maybe 3.
Yeah, desperate for that move. It just smacks of him going, well, I just want to win something. I just want to leave to win something. But like, I don't even think that you take any notice of those, like a bid from Bayern, until it gets to at least 100 million. And like Franco said, even then, he is arguably, I'd say probably, but for the sake of other people who may watch this, he's arguably the best striker in the world. And now Declan Rice, what's he going for? 105 million? A defensive midfielder with a year left on his contract. Forget age, because Kane could probably play for another 4 or 5 years. So that you're going to want at least that, because of the quality. Kane's better player than Declan Rice, but we can't replace him. We were having this conversation yesterday, Franco, and I said, if we think Richarlison's the answer to replacing Kane, then we are very much mistaken, or anybody who thinks that. So there is no replacing him. I think you have to get into the 100 millions before you even start. And like, if I was Kane as well, all those things we've just said, he should know that. If Bayern Munich are coming in with like 60, 70 million, they can't be wanting you that bad, mate, because they will know what sort of money it's going to take to get him from Spurs.
But
we've had this before with Man City. We've had this. I was going to say, and we never budged then. I no doubt he maybe want to go to Bayern Munich. They are a big club and they play in the Champions League and they win things. I think that conversation will go. Possibly I do want to go. If him and Ange have that chat, yeah, they're interested. I would like to go, and he'll say if they hit a figure that the chairman has set, then yeah, you can go. But Bayern Munich will not hit that figure. They will not hit the figure that Levy wants. I believe that Levy actually thinks, really, really believes that he can change his mind and get him to sign a contract. I honestly think he does. Because I think I think he thinks he can change, he can get him to sign a new contract. I'm not 100% sure he will, but I think he actually does.
No, I mean, that's the problem. I think we're having a chat on the Patreon about this, weren't we? And one of our patrons, Daniel, said that, Levy holds the cards here. I mean, he does to a certain extent, but like his options are not great. It's either you sell Kane for a large amount of money, which is one thing you would do. And the other thing is you keep him, but then he's going to go at the end of the year. So neither options are really ideal. And what Levy ideally wants, that's completely in Kane's hands. You know what I mean? He has all the cards for that. He can agree to a new contract, and Levy would be the luckiest man alive, because let's be honest, like if Kane stays for another 4 or 5 years, signs another contract, then he's basically dedicating himself to the club, not to what we've achieved and what we've given him. He's basically just giving it to the club. Can't see it. Sorry, feeling pretty neg about that at the moment. I think he'll be gone at the end of next season.
You do, yeah. Interesting. Do you think that there's been lots of talk about the incompetence, if you like, of the club in terms of letting him get to this final year without signing a new contract? What's your take on that, Gibbo? Are the club to blame for the fact we've let it get to this position?
Well, mate, I mean, he obviously wanted to go. What is it now? 2 years ago when Nuno came in? How long ago was that? So how long would he have had left on? I think, mate, he's become, in a way, from how we've been, pretty much bigger than the club, hasn't he? It's like we can't sell Kane because there will be uproar. But we can't get him to sign a new contract. So he's, like people say, but Kane has been holding most of the cards for a long time. It's like, well, he's probably thinking they're going to have to sell me or else I'll walk away on a free. And it's like Levy doesn't want to budge because he doesn't feel like he could sell him. And Kane knows he can walk, after whatever happens, he can walk away on a free, and will get a really good move to somewhere he wants to go and make good money and probably go on and win things. So, I think in a way, Kane had become bigger than the club, which you can't really have, but it's what's happened. And that's where we've been. It's like every summer we have this all the time. I go out and I see people who I work with, or I go to a job and there's other people there. First thing, where's Kane going to go? And you're just like, mate, it's all people think about. It's all the media talk about, and it's become bigger than the club. So at some point, in a way, I think to myself, and when he was going to Man City, I was just like, sell him. If we can get the money we want, just sell him. And partly because, mate, I'm just fed up of the whole circus around it. I obviously don't want us to sell him, but I want him to stay. But it's just become a little bit like that Kane is obviously Mr. Tottenham, as they say.
Yeah, the thing that it does really wind me up the way the media do this. I mean, even the Declan Rice situation, the fact that he was on the pitch having just won a European trophy for his team, and the interviewer decided to ask him about where he's going to be next season. It's, do you know what I mean? As a West Ham fan, you'd be watching that. You'd be absolutely buzzing about what had just happened. And then you've got to watch one of your favourite players at the time be quizzed about that and see on his face. And you could see like he knew he was going to leave if he got a decent offer. It's really disrespectful to fans as much as anything to have to spend like season after season. Like we experienced it with Bale for years. You know what I mean? With he was probably being touted for sale for 2-3 seasons before he went. We had it with Modric. You have it with all of our top players eventually.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do I blame the club? Yeah, I blame the club in the sense that we've not progressed. There's obviously other circumstances and situations that have added to that. But like I've said it before, we've not achieved anything. And in some respects, I could understand why Kane wanted to leave a few seasons ago. You could probably see the writing was on the wall. So yeah, I feel like the Jose and Conte appointments were in a sense to sort of give Kane another motivation to stay, to play under elite level managers. Here's your opportunity. You don't need to go to another club, etc. But there comes a time when you just want to be part of a winning team, and unfortunately, that's not going to be provided probably this season. It'd be amazing if Ange did, but like we're the start of another project, aren't we? So does Kane really want to be part of that? You might stick around for the first year, but I just, we'd have to do amazing things, and you'd have to really develop a relationship with Ange for anything like that to keep him there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one manager that could potentially develop that relationship, you've got to put your money on Ange, haven't you? Just by the way he's come across in this first period, it's been phenomenal. Just on Kane, do we see Kane kicking up the stink, if you like, that happened that Nuno summer with Man City, or do you see this being a different tactic for him this time around?
It's the end game, isn't it, for him? If he's told he can go for a certain amount of money and that club don't hit it, he's got in 6 months' time. If clubs from abroad come in for him, he can sign a pre-contract. He knows he's got a season. I'd like to think we won't be as bad as we were last season. So he's got time. He's got within 6 months. Up to Christmas, like up to January, if it was really going well, and he thinks we're going places, if he was offered a massive contract with massive money and those other offers weren't coming in, he can take that. It's all down to what he wants to do. He's the master of his own destiny, really, now, isn't he? I'd say, who do you think? Obviously, if he went to Man United, he's not guaranteed to win things, but United do win things now and then, nowhere near as much as they did. I mean, would City take him if he came up on a free? Newcastle, obviously, there's a lot of money there. Madrid, Bayern Munich, like a free, so they could wait for him, couldn't they? So he's not going to be short of offers, mate. So I just think he's literally got everything playing into his hands.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we don't see that same hurrah we had last time, not coming back to training, etc. You think it'll be? No,
because the end is in sight for him, isn't it? I think before, when you've got years left on your contract, and there was a window there, wasn't it, where the Man City option was there before Haaland. So he was probably thinking, I could be their prime target, and could there be be part of the best team in England for the next X amount of years, because the Haaland move, that door is closed essentially. So I think that whilst there's other options, Man United and stuff, I think you'd probably think, well, this year, next year doesn't really matter. Like, if I do it next year, I'll get a bumper pay deal, which will make up for, me being on this slightly lower than I probably deserve salary for the last couple of years.
And Franco, City was the one, wasn't it? If you get the chance to go to City, you're guaranteed to win stuff. You're guaranteed to, pretty much, as much as you can guarantee it, and play under Pep Guardiola. So I'm not saying that because I don't understand it, because I support Tottenham Hotspur, but for him, you can see him why he's like, no, I really want this move, and I'm going to try and do what I need to do to push it through until it's like, it's not happening. So I need to sort of get my head back in the game, which is what he eventually did. But you can sort of understand. But with Bayern, he probably knows he's going to get 2 or 3 offers similar to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Does 100% Kane will be on that plane to Australia this week?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about here, if this Bayern Munich move is to materialise, replacing somebody like Harry Kane we can't be leaving it till the last day and then getting like Fraser Campbell on loan. We can't be doing that, can we, to replace Kane? If something like that's going to happen, it's got to be soon, hasn't it? It's got to be right then. This is what's happening. Let's get this deal done.
What about Lukaku?
I see. I'd take Lukaku. A lot of people will kick off about that.
Because I said there's not really many options out there.
No, there's no.
But this is Franco. You've absolutely predicted my next question, because that's what I was going to ask. We've said that Kane's Mr. Tottenham and leaving him is almost irreplaceable. But who is, if Kane goes, whether it's this summer or next summer, who is his who's the player that can come in and replace him? And I know it's a difficult one to answer, but
Leandro Damião. We've been after him for a while.
Well, no, I mean, on the last pod, I jokingly said he already plays for the club and his name's Richarlison. But or the other option is he's already at the club and he's 16 years old and his name's Dane Scarlett. But that could be what we're left with, a last-minute deal for Kane. Levy, going, I couldn't do anything about it. Sorry, guys. We just have to rely on Richarlison and our youth and we'll get someone in winter. I don't know. But no, I really don't see it. I really don't. And Lukaku is an option, though. I don't know. How old is he now? He's probably a bit older than I think.
He's got to be nearly 30, hasn't he? He's got to be the same sort of age as Kane.
Yeah, but a completely different player in many senses, isn't he? So it would, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because we're on a fresh start. A new way of playing football, and if he could bring in someone like Lukaku and get him to work in his systems, then by all means. But look, I've said it. I don't expect him to go. I don't want him to go. And most importantly, the manager doesn't want him to go. So, if he does as well now and Levy ends up having to sell him, then that's not going to be a good look, is it? On top of all the other bad looks that Levy's sort of managing to produce at the moment. Are we going to talk about the tickets, or have we done that?
Yeah.
We'll talk about tickets.
Here's one. If you know Harry Kane is going, because by January, I think you pretty much know if he is definitely or not. Tony is. Do you think Ivan Toney couldn't replace him? But would you buy Tony as someone who's going to come in and take that role, or do you think
you can't really argue with his goals, can you? It's just
you're not going to get.
He's still not the same caliber of player,
no.
Is he? It's like there's plenty of goal scorers that come in the Premier who never really are considered to be that elite level player, and his goals speak themselves. But I don't know. I still think.
Who are we talking about forwards in world football who are in that bracket then?
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? Most of them are retiring now.
Yeah. So you got Kane, Osimhen. We're going to get nowhere near that, are we? The money they want in at that age, he's looking at bigger clubs than us. So no matter what, Paddy Bamford, James O'Brien's put in there. Paddy Bamford.
But you look at. Yeah, there's those options. I mean, who?
Dybala, is that still an option?
Martinez, we haven't been linked with him this summer.
No,
that's true. There are a few. I mean, there are a few of these players dotted around and stuff. But again, I just don't think any of them are of the same caliber as Kane. They're really not.
No, nowhere near.
No one is. That's the problem, isn't it? Well, let's. I think we're sort of all agreed then that Kane will stay this summer. And then I guess it's in the hand of the gods as to whether he signs a contract extension or not, but probably not. And we'll be having this debate. Yeah, or Charlie,
Charlie.
In the hands of Charlie and his dad and Mrs. and Uncle and everyone else that is in Germany this week. All right, then. No doubt this will rumble on and on for the next few weeks, and no doubt will be lots of conversation about what next for Spurs after Kane. But moving on, the club, and you've just touched on it, Franco, the club have been heavily criticised this week for the ticket announcement that general admission tickets have been increased by around 20%. At the same time, season ticket prices were frozen, as we know. Franco, initial thoughts? Good move?
No, terrible move. My initial thoughts were, why? Why would you do this? And why does it? Because I first looked at it, I didn't think they had. I was like, well, they've just shuffled the games around. All right, you've got one extra Category A game, one less Category C game. That's a bit of a piss take, but not the end of the world. But But then when you actually look at it, you kind of think, oh, right, they've increased all those category A games significantly, Bs and Cs by a little bit less. So what they're really basically saying is like these category A games, they're like the elite games that people are going to want to pay to see. So it's just pure capitalism and greed, isn't it? Finite resources, top quality games. We can charge what we want for those. All you people that went to Beyonce concerts and paid stupid money for those tickets, you're giving Levy the idea that you can charge stupid money for bloody football as well. But
part of the problem, Franco, part of the problem.
We're all part of the problem. We're all complicit. But it's the thing that pisses me off the most is it's just another thing to get down about. And like you should be, as the backroom staff of the club, should be doing as much as they can to sort of not make the situation any worse for the manager. He's come in, just want to try and make it nice and smooth for him, even give him a few things for us to be like, all right, decent from the club. But you've just got these things in the background that will detract away from the manager and the football that we're going to, and what he's going to try to achieve at the start of the season. You know what I mean? Imagine we have 3 bad games at the start, and then you've got everyone moaning about how much it costs to go and play Man United or play Arsenal or whatever. It's just stupid. And the other thing is just like for the money, you make hardly anything. I think like John basically said it was like £1 million at most is the difference it's going to make. And you think, well, if we'd have qualified for Europe, even like the lower echelons of European football, we would have made more money than that. It's just in the scheme of things, it's just such a bad look. I'm just perplexed that they felt like it was a good time. And the thing is, right, on the face of it as well, people kind of made the point that now you can sell your tickets and make a profit from your season ticket. Now, I always used to moan that it kind of got eroded. When I first got a season ticket like nearly 20 years ago, there was a slight benefit in getting the season ticket, like a slight discount. And you're like, fair enough, you're committing to all those games, you probably should get a slight discount.
2
but then
cup games.
Yeah, and you got your cup games. And then they got rid of those. So you already lost that sort of extra bit of, and then it basically became parity with just buying the tickets separately. The only thing is you were locked in, and people were like up for that because it was the end last few years of the stadium, this idea of getting a ticket in the new stadium. Everyone was behind it. They knew they had people. And then it was like, right, so there's absolutely no benefits to having a season ticket really whatsoever, apart from, you know, getting away games and European games, etc. But like, it feels now that having done this, all they're going to do, I bet you next season it'll be, well, we're not going to increase the general admission prices, but the season ticket's going to go up for a bit. And so it's just going to be this sort of up and down where one goes up and they go, yeah, but we haven't done that side. And then the other side goes up the next year. It's like, well, we haven't done those. So that's what I personally think it is. I think general admission tickets will go up this year. Next year, they'll freeze them. Season tickets will go up to match. It's just a piss take. And the amount of money, like, was it the first time general admission has exceeded £100 for a ticket to watch some of the football we were watching? I don't know. It's difficult to justify it, and just a really bad look.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the timing, Gibbo, of the announcement. I know you've got your views on the pricing of match day tickets and it's what that creates in terms of excluding opportunity to go and see the game. But the timing of it, I find interesting. The same week when they've just announced the new fan advisory board. Is in place. I think the meeting with the fan advisory board is this week. If not this week, it's next week. I can't quite remember. I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me. Was it a smart move? Should they have at least waited and you know, had some sort of consultation or dialogue with that group?
Maybe, mate, but they don't care. They don't really care, mate. It's money. It's money. That's what it's about. They don't really care, mate. It's just, I mean, who's... And that Donna Cullen, we're in a background in PR.
Yeah. I heard that. I saw that today. Yeah. Just
ridiculous, mate. It's just another kick in the bollocks to the fans, isn't it? You know, like members who want to go as much as they can in there. But like you said, Craig, there's never any good timing to put out that you're putting the price of the tickets up. They probably thought it was the best time because there was a bit of a feel-good around because Ange's come in and he's settled down and everybody's buzzing about it. So what we'll do is we'll drop this in now. It's just another gaff, isn't it? Another PR gaff. But like for me, mate, obviously I used to have a season ticket a long time ago. Then I was a member, so I used to go to as many games as I can. But I won't be, you know, I don't know when the next game. I can't afford to be paying those types of prices for tickets. And not just I can't afford to, I probably could make myself afford it, but I don't want to. I don't want to pay that type, you know, I don't want to pay that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I don't want to pay that type of money for those games. There's other things that I need to and want to spend my money on, and I'll just watch watch the games at home on the telly. Like, you know, I've always said one day when my son doesn't have the commitments he has with football, we'll start going again. We'll get a couple of season tickets and we'll try and go to as many games as we can. But that sort of dream is getting further and further away with the price of these tickets. And obviously, it's my choice that I live where I live. So it's the travel, the tickets, the whole experience is just getting to a point where it's, for lots and lots of people, it's pretty much sort of like, it's just mega money. It's unattainable for a lot of people. And so I'm at the point like, now, that's, if you want to charge that for tickets, that's fine. And if people will buy them, great, and the money's coming into the stadium. But I'm not going to be one of them anymore. You know, if I go to any games at all, I'll be surprised this season. Just, you know, I'm happy to go to the cheaper games. You know, I don't really care who I watch Spurs play against. But, you know, like £100 to watch us play Chelsea or whatever, it's just ridiculous.
And I think that's the problem, isn't it? Because you look at like events now, like, everything is much more expensive. I looked at Glasgow tickets this year. I was like, that's a lot more than last time I went. Stuff like, you know, these sort of things have gone up fairly dramatically in the last couple of years. But football, I don't know why. I just don't think it's the same. Do you know what I mean? Because when you've got a season ticket, you're not going to a one-off event. You're not going for a weekend. For some people, they are. Maybe that's it. Maybe they think general admission. It's people that go 2-3 times a year. They won't care. But like season tickets, when you're going 19 times and then you're going to cup games as well and you're going to away games, like that's something you do on a regular basis. And to make it to the extent where it's almost going to be unaffordable for some people, that is a real concern, because you're going to lose the people that go week in, week out. You'll just get people buying season tickets and putting half the tickets on the exchange for the year and then going the rest and going half the other time. And then you lose the atmosphere that you build up in the little blocks where everybody gets to know each other. Everyone has that camaraderie and like familiarity. You're going to lose things like that, which is essentially the lifeblood of going to football matches, isn't it? It's familiar faces. It's like doing the same routine and stuff like that. And if you're only halfway in because you can't afford to go every single game, like the club won't care because they don't care who's going to go, but it's the things they don't seem to understand, these like intangible parts of the football experience that they're going to miss out on. And it just pisses me off. Like £1 million, that's going to make difference. But the tickets have gone up by 20%. Now, 1 million, our revenue is what, 400 million odd last year. So that's 0.25% increase in our revenue for that ticket move, but 20% increase in the cost to the fan. Like, it's completely disproportionate. I really can't understand why they do that.
Yeah,
but on a side thing, sorry, Craig, I know we're obviously one of the most expensive tickets in the Premier League, but all these clubs are doing this, aren't they? Putting the prices of their tickets.
Exactly what I was about to say, Gibbo. Exactly what I was about to say. I think out of all the Premier League clubs, only 2 have frozen prices, I believe.
But it's the starting point, surely. When you're starting as the most expensive tickets already.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. Like you can go and watch Brighton, who finished above us, and their tickets are like 50-60% less than ours. And I know, like the match day experience will not be the same. But I'd much rather go and watch Brighton these days, wouldn't you?
And as well, I know it's a slightly different thing, and everyone's into. But it's like if I'm paying that to watch Spurs, it's a lot of money. But I bought a ticket to Glasgow this year, but the 3 headlining bands, you're probably paying £100 a ticket to watch them on their own, if that's what you choose to do. And then there's all the other bands that you're probably paying, even the ones sort of like just before them, you're looking at paying 50. So in my mind, something like that, I went with all, my 2 kids and my wife, and we got our money's worth from everything we watched. I felt like we got our money's worth, and it was good value for money, even though it was quite expensive. Whereas going to watch Spurs and taking my son and the whole thing costing me £400, which is, that it could be a big chunk of your week's wage or whatever. To some people, it could be a whole week's wage. It's just like, is it worth it? It's like saving up all your money to go and watch Spurs once.
Yeah. But it's kind of like talking to the American Patreons. And if you've been to America and watched any sports there, apart from baseball, which is obviously quite cheap, but it's on every day. Like the other sports are quite expensive. You go and watch American football, you're paying out some serious money.
It's expensive, mate, yeah.
But I feel like Levy's been talking to the Yanks too much, because they're like, we do this over here. And he's just sitting there going, people will pay this much to go and watch Anthony Joshua fight. People will watch this much to go and watch this. Because, people that go to boxing will pay thousands and thousands of pounds to be ringside. And then the people up in the upper echelons are paying like much less. But at Spurs, it shouldn't be the same. It just shouldn't. Like, I don't understand how you can legitimize people, 40, 50,000 people every week committing to go and watch that, and think that you can treat them in the same way as a rich person coming in to watch a boxing fight that's only going to happen once. It's just not the same.
We're paying NFL prices in our NFL stadium.
But even the NFL, they have much fewer games in a season, don't they? So that's an even more finite opportunity to go and watch your team. And I know they do have season tickets out there. And thing Jack was saying that they scout ridiculously. Like, season ticket holders sell their tickets for exponentially large figures. But it's just, nobody thinks that's the way that things should go in football. They really don't, do they? Like, when you talk about like the movements that have happened with the supporters trust pushing for like the away games being much cheaper, that it was like 20 quid was what they aimed for. In the end, they got it down to 30 quid. But I remember like years ago, and it was things like Wigan charging like 65 quid to Spurs fans because they knew they could. It was just like, going to away games was shit, and they made it much better by making it cheaper, making it affordable. But then it's like, Levy just doesn't obviously agree with that, and he wants to try and squeeze the fans as much as possible. Like, there's got to be a breaking point at some point, whether we've got a wealthy fan base or not.
Yeah, that I've got two more questions on this one. The first question is exactly that. Does this pricing point mean that we're going to see empty stadiums next season, or do you think that we will still have people pay the price? Where are we at that breaking point, or do you think maybe we just teetering close on the edge to it?
But look, when we played like Rennes and Mura and whoever else we had, like, they weren't full. They didn't even attempt to do the full stadium, and they've done that for quite a few games now. For like some of the League Cup games, they won't. I think the Premier League, it will always sell out because you've got 2/3 of the stadium sold out season ticket holders. You've got your corporate element. It's only like 8,000 tickets, isn't it? Something like that on general sale. So 8,000 Spurs tickets. We've got a big fan base. It's not that difficult to imagine that. But it's the midweek games where people aren't. They haven't bought those tickets already. There's no compulsory reason for you to go. I think a lot of fans will just say no. I really do. And I think they'll be in the same situation. I mean, the thing is, we haven't got any European football next year to make that more likely. But if we draw some dross in the third round of the League Cup at home, we're no way we're going to sell out. Absolutely no way.
No, I think you're right though, Franco. I think the Premier League sells all the time, and that's where they get the big money in. Like, well, Son's there. You get like lots and lots of Koreans turn up to watch him, don't you? With fair play to them. But I think they'll always sell in the Premier League, and that's not the problem because it's people's choice what they want to do. But I think the Premier League games, that the stadium will always be pretty much full for the Premier League because it is the biggest league in the world at the minute. People want to watch it. People want to be part of it. There's people out there who can afford to go and have those experiences and do, like you said, Franco, and have the whole day experience. And so I don't think you're going to see it in the Premier. And in the cups, once it gets deeper into a cup, Franco, you're selling out, aren't you?
Yeah, once it gets past the first or second round, definitely. But even this season just gone, when things were bad and people were looking on the exchange going, wow, like the exchange has got thousands and thousands of tickets. But on match day, those tickets had either been sold, and if not sold, they'd just been given, or the person had decided to come. Like, there was very, very few empty seats, not on the scale that you expected looking at that. So,
I mean, you suspect, don't you, in any home games in the early rounds of the cup competitions, it will probably be cheaper prices.
Like John said here, they tend to usually do that, don't they?
Yeah. It may be 30 quid this year, not 25 though.
FA Cup slightly different, John. Wasn't that on a weekend as well? Weekend fixtures are slightly different to League Cup in midweek.
The midweek
is the issue. Yeah, midweek is always an issue.
Yeah, no, true. And my final question to both of you is: do you see a world where the club go back and revert the pricing back to where they were last season and freeze prices, or do you think it's done?
No going back. And the thing about consulting, like we're talking about consulting with the supporters trust on things like this, there's no consultation. It's a decision that's been made because they know what the trust are going to say, because the trust are there, basically trying to fight for fans. So they're not going to be like, great idea, 20% increase sounds reasonable. They will say, no, we don't think you should increase it, and then they'll do it anyway. So to just get rid of that whole palaver, like, what's the point? it makes the PR look even worse if it could. And so they're not going to engage with anybody about these decisions. They've made them, but it's just I don't understand the logic behind it. I just don't get it. It's not worth it in the scheme of things. It makes such a marginal difference.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, ticket price has always been that way, hasn't it, Franco? Though it is, in the scheme of things, irrelevant to our overall revenue. Really, it is marginal. So strange.
Yeah.
Strange decision. All righty then. Well, that's tickets. In new player news, everyone loves a new player. Solomon reportedly had his medical today. Looks set to be announced today or the day after. Gibbo, excited by another attacking player coming into Spurs?
Not really, mate. I said this before. I said this on last week's show. I think it's just a bit of business. I think he's a squad player. And if he does, like he scored, what did he do for Fulham? Didn't he score in 5 games or something? And he looked all right in a few of their games. And if he does that for Spurs, but he can't find a way into the team, we'll have picked him up on a free and we'll be able to sell him and make a decent profit on him probably. And I think it's that type of opportunity. If he comes in and does well, great. If he doesn't, we'll make some money on him. But, obviously if he plays well, it'll hopefully help Spurs be more successful. So I hope he does do well, but doesn't really excite me. I don't think we'll see a fat lot of him. I may be wrong, but I don't see him as a player who's going to really challenge and break into that first team. So, yeah.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
It's an interesting one. Because on the last pod, we were talking about Harvey Barnes, and Seb kind of pointed out, well, we've already got quite a lot of players on that left. When you've got, Brian Hill to consider, you've got Sonny, and then we've got Solomon, who played on the left for the majority. I think that's where he plays, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he got 3 goals in 6 games playing as a forward, 1 as an attacking midfielder. Can you tell I'm reading this? But I will be the first to admit I knew he existed. I'd seen his name on a team sheet. I'd never seen him kick a football. Did not watch a lot of Fulham last year at all. Haven't seen any of his goals. I haven't even bothered looking them up because I just think, well, just wait and see. Maybe it would be like an exciting thing to see an unknown quantity with Gibbo to a certain extent. I think
low risk, isn't it?
It's low risk because it costs no money. Can't imagine he's on huge wages. And there's probably a certain amount of what's the right word? A bit like the sun effect, isn't it? It's sort of increasing your your exposure to a different market. And I think having sort of like a top Israeli talent in there, it's just one of those things. And if you've got the top player from any country, then you're going to get a few more sort of people taking a look at you. So I don't know. There's probably a few commercial reasons why it made sense for them as well, but I can't imagine that it's a manager signing, and that's another thing which gives the fans something to moan about when the club are clearly signing players.
And I think he has experience of playing in the Champions League for Shakhtar, or at least in the Europa League. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's coming in to replace Danjuma, who never played, and Lucas, who
played very rarely.
Was Lucas, who very rarely played in the end. So it's just filling that role, isn't it? Really. So it's nothing. We don't. He's not like the Maddison signing. We're looking at Maddison coming in and having an impact on how we go forward. Like we said, Solomon is just a body who's come in and hopefully he can be half decent. But if he's not, we'll just flog him and make a profit.
And a few people have said who've actually bothered to watch him have said that he's got some decent attributes, pretty skillful, likes to run at players, decent shot on him. Like those are all things that you want from a winger. Yeah. So why not? Yeah,
exactly. Okay, good. And then in terms of exits, big news, breaking news tonight. Sanchez is subject to a £9 million bid from Galatasaray.
Who's broken this news, Craig?
Fabio, the man.
Fabrizio.
Fabrizio. Sorry, I meant Fabrizio. Sorry. Yeah, Fabrizio.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. So, I mean, on that basis, Franco, it's done, right?
No, Levy will drag it out for another month, trying to get another £5 out of them for it or something. I don't know. 9 million. It's quite a big loss. The thing is, like the way that the club's finances work and that we amortize players, like his value on the balance sheet must be like £2.50 right now because he's nearly seen out his contract. He's been here quite a while. So yeah, surely that will be a positive for him. You know, Levy can sort of look at his balance sheet and not have too many regrets about that one. And yeah, we need to get rid of him. He wants to leave.
Yeah, he wants to leave, doesn't he?
It makes sense. I'm sure he'll try and squeeze another million, and we can get him out for 10 million. Fine, done.
He's probably one that, you know, if that noise is true, then you doubt he's going to be on the plane to Australia, is he? Get it, you know, get that done. If we can get somebody in before that, like obviously we haven't come on to that, but if we can get one of these centre backs in and leave him at home to get that move, makes sense, doesn't it? But you know, like he wants out. 9 million. Yeah. What did we pay from Franco? Was it 40 million? Yeah, we paid 40 million for him, but he wants out. We sort of want him gone, don't we? So his value must be low. And weren't there was talk of us looking at a centre back from Galatasaray, wasn't there? Was it a Danish bloke or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know some guy I'd never seen play, but yeah, just like John said in the chat, if Fab said 2 or 3 other teams interested, we're going to spark a bidding war for Davinson Sanchez.
I doubt it.
It's not like they're going to be coming in with an extra 4 or 5 million for him, is it? We're probably talking like 1 or 2 million.
No. The thing is, in some leagues and in some systems, he might be a decent defender because he's quick. He is quick and
quick, but relatively strong.
As long as he doesn't have to pass the ball to anybody, like if they can just eliminate that out of the tactics,
and he doesn't get put under pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
Don't give him the ball. Don't put him under pressure.
Just get him to chase back against strikers all the time. He'll be fine. Do some sliding tackles at the last minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it does look like I saw a story today that we're trying to get VDV and who's the other guy?
Tapsoba or Tapsoba?
Tapsoba, yeah.
Yeah, trying to get him from Leverkusen, isn't it? Yeah, if we can get those deals done, then great. I still don't really think they're the sort of signings that like a lot of this fan base think we should be making. I'm not sure they're going to placate a lot of people, but you know, we need some pace. We need some young blood in there as well. So
and on that is Van de Ven, isn't it? That's the one we need. If it's about pace, he's the one that's lighting, isn't he?
Yeah, and I was reading a story about him, sort of a profile of the player, and his manager saying how much he's sort of come on. Like they knew there was a player there, but there were sort of certain aspects of defending which he wasn't great at, but he had this explosive pace and sort of raw talent. And they said that he's come on leaps and bounds, like, you know, most improved player type situation. So, I think he'll be a decent signing.
But this is what annoys me, Franco and Craig. The money we're talking about for those players, you're talking about for both of them would probably be around 60, 70 million, which I know is a lot of money, but we can afford to pay that. We can afford, though, you know, we're quibbling over, I hope we don't start thinking, because we need those players to reinvigorate that squad. We can afford that. We're talking about ticket prices going up, which I know, but the revenue that's coming into that stadium, we can afford to buy both of these players. If we need both of them, we can afford to get both of them in. We're selling Sanchez to offset some of the problem. We can, you know, I hope we don't start like, we can only buy one, we can't afford two, so we're going to have to bring Lenglet back or whatever. We can afford to. There should be no reason why Spurs cannot get both of those players in. No reason at all, in my opinion. Do you agree, or do you think there is a?
No, I totally agree. Having looked at the finances quite regularly over the years, like, I mean, you can take a punt. We've got plenty of headroom in order to spend money if we want to. Admittedly, it will have a knock-on effect. But like, you look at Chelsea, everyone was saying they're not going to be able to buy anybody next year because they're so badly in debt. They just flog half of their players. And all right, there might have been some slightly dodgy dealings in there, but if you're willing to sort of just accept what the buying club is willing to do, and it's not completely unreasonable, then clubs like Chelsea can show you that you can get rid of players. That's what we struggle to do. And if we could do that, if the inflow and the outflow were sort of a bit more aligned, then we would have no problems. What our problem is that the club never want to spend loads of money up front. It's like we've done now. We spend some money, and then you feel like we're sitting there trying to go like, right, are we definitely going to be able to get rid of this player? Are we definitely going to be able to get rid of this player? And it all holds up until that happens. And then we have this sort of flourish at the end of the season where we either get rid of players or we just end up loaning them out. Yeah.
I do sense though that I do sense it's different. I mean, I get a sense that we seem to be trying to do our business a bit earlier. And then I think what will happen, my prediction for this transfer window is probably, I may be wrong, but we'll get the players in. We'll then focus on getting players out. And if it comes to the end of the transfer window and we've not got rid of them, that's when we'll start seeing some contracts ripped up and players like we did with in the previous transfer window. And, the players with a year left on their contracts, if they are, not subject to or not needed at the club. I think it's going to be interesting as well, just going back to this, out of all the players in the current squad, those that potentially may not be part of the future, we predict may not be part of the future, who do you think won't be on that plane to Australia this week? Who won't be on that plane?
Well, he said Bentancur.
I know it's difficult to say.
He said
well, that's because they're injured, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think pretty much if there's a bid imminent for Højbjerg, you may not see him out there. But I think pretty much he'll want most of the squad out there because a large chunk of them are only back this week, aren't they? So, you've got to be able to go out there and field a couple of different teams and give players some minutes. So unless there's bids imminent, maybe like Sanchez won't go now, if there actually is bids for him. But I mean, the one is Lloris, isn't it? Well, would he want to go out there if he's? Didn't we keep players at home last year who they were trying to get moves for? They didn't come out on the tour we went. So,
but I also think for the fans out there as well, it's like you quite nice for them to see players like club captain Hugo Lloris. Even though if he won't be sticking around, I still think that it makes sense for them to maybe go out there just to do the sort of schmoozing and meet and greet and signing autographs and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense. And apart from the injured players, I don't see why we wouldn't take in, like you say, Gibbo, why we wouldn't take everybody that's available. They don't have to all play.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking though, 30 senior players plus youth players. I mean, it's a lot to take on the tour, isn't it?
How many games have we got out there?
We've got West Ham, haven't we? On the 17th, a week today, and then we go from Perth. We got West Ham in. West Ham, and then we've got Leicester in Thailand, and then Roma potentially after that. If it happens, there's still doubt about whether that game will happen or not. So we've got 3 games. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? But there's going to be some players left behind, I think. There's got to be some players left behind.
What, is it only a 25-seater plane, Craig? Do you know something?
I mean, you've got staff, you've got media, you've got, it's a big, it's not, it's not a biggest plane, Franco. It's not a jumbo.
I think he'll take quite a few, mate. And I think the ones that possibly won't go with the injuries and ones who there may be a move on the cards for them. I would be very surprised if there's any players at the minute that he's decided. I mean, because when we left them behind before, Conte had done 6 months, hadn't he? So he had a bit of an idea on the players he didn't really want around. But Ange hasn't worked with all of them. And the ones he has worked with, he's only worked for a week. So
is Lo Celso on the plane?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I could be completely wrong, but I can't see why not.
Rodon?
Yeah, I think I think pretty much anyone, except for the ones who may have a move. So Sanchez might not go if we can flog him.
So I was always comment by Phil Ambrose. Phil, they'll all be bunking up, mate. You get those little, when you go to a hotel and they've got pull-out beds for your kids. You'll be like, Sessegnon will have to be on the pull-out bed.
They're staying in hostels.
They're getting the legitimate experience, aren't they? The Australia traveller experience. So, definitely. Okay, that's interesting. So, I mean, I'm guessing that will be will in the next. I don't know when they fly. I don't know when they actually fly out. It's got to be in the next couple of days.
Friday. Right? I think it's Friday. They've said today. They're now saying, mate, your pal Fabrizio, or Fabio as you call him, Craig, is now saying that we're advancing now with this Mickey van der Ven. Told the agreement between the clubs is close. There was negotiations today, so he could be on the plane.
I mean, if he's on the plane, so what defender's not on the plane? It's one in, one out, mate. Literally, the plane is full. Someone's
is,
got to
but, I
stand
mean,
behind.
isn't this the sort of thing where they take all the kids as well, so that like you can just it's all like an experience
I mean.
of going away together, blah blah blah.
Maybe they'll send the
it.
kids on Qantas like budget airlines or something. I don't know. Like look, Endon Bele takes 2 seats, so so it will be interesting. All right, okay, good stuff. And then finally, the other thing announced today was quickly touch on before calling it a day is the Barcelona game, which I'm going to hopefully go out for, is my plan. The 9th of August, I think we've announced Barcelona have announced this cup thing they play for every single year. I mean, what's your take on that late edition? It always seems to be one late edition, doesn't know into the fixture, but I think it's a Wednesday before the season starts. Do you think it's just a case of getting that competitive game in?
It's just a money-making exercise, isn't it? If Barcelona come along and say, do you want to play us? I think, Spurs will say yes. Have we not got a home game before the start of the season? Or what?
Shakhtar.
Shakhtar, of course it is. Yeah, sorry.
Shakhtar. Yeah.
So, I mean, Barcelona away is probably a bit more exciting. I guess it will be televised and blah, blah, blah. It's all about stature of the club, isn't it? Like when you get asked by one of Europe's elite clubs to sort of play a friendly, then of course you're going to do it. So it makes sense. But I haven't even seen that it's been announced. What is it part of? Just a little tournament.
I'm guessing there's some. Yeah, I did see someone tweeted. I'm going to have to have a look on now. They obviously play for. It's a bit like the Audi Cup, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you only have to play one game. It's like, isn't it just like a cup? Barcelona pick somebody to play every year, and they play them. So they usually they're picking a team who they'll probably beat this year, so they win it. I don't know who they play. Yeah. It's a cup final. Let's get Spurs in. We want to make sure we win.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it will be interesting. All right then, guys. Well, I think that's it. Hour 15 done tonight, so we'll call it there. Thanks, Gibbo, for coming on and giving your opinions as always.
No, mate.
I just realised as well. You know what they're going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to say, "Yeah, we'll come and play you, Barcelona," but then you have to give us like £2 million off the Longley transfer, isn't it? That's what it is.
Longley transfer. Yeah.
Don't Franco.
Longley's coming, mate. Longley is in, definitely. Longley is in.
Let's not go back.
He'll be on the plane. Cool. Thanks for coming on, Gibbo. When are you next on, mate? You're away, aren't you, Florida?
I'm off on holiday Thursday, 2 weeks away from Spurs. Nice. 2 weeks away from the cheese room, mate. I need the
whatever. You'll be on the Slack chat 24/7. You'll be bored after a few days.
When I'm stood in the queues, mate, at Disney World, I'll be like, I'll just have half hour on Slack here.
Yeah, exactly. You conveniently get lost, won't you, every day? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can find you for hours.
What are you doing in that toilet? Nothing.
Or in the
the
Lion, whatever it's called, the Red Lion, whatever it's called, in the Epcot. Is it the Red Lion in Epcot? I think it is.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
you'll be in there, mate. You'll be in there. And Franco, when's the next audio pod? When we do another one?
Yeah, we need to get one done this weekend. Bren's coming over to England this week, so we might actually do one in person together. But I've been threatening these additional pods. I need to do one with Dave as well about the stadium and stuff. So yeah, this weekend I should have some time. We'll get one out this weekend.
Good stuff. All right then, guys. Well, keep an eye on socials for the next show. Wednesday night, I believe, is our next one in terms of YouTube. But we're going to have our regular one on Friday also. And like I say, keep an eye on socials for the audio pod. All right then, guys. Well, the only last thing to say is thanks very much and come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, just watching. Come on, you Spurs.